You're listening to It Takes Intention. This is the podcast for the women who are ready to master their mindsets and become the most magnetic, confident business owner who lives a life she truly loves. I'm your host, Tish. I'm a mindset and business coach whose sole calling is to help women get into alignment using my wisdom, tools, and strategies so they create clarity, allowing them to take aligned action with less resistance and more ease. It Takes Intention is the podcast where we dive into my favorite topics: self-development, energetics, branding, business, and mindset. If you're ready to become a magnet for the joy, freedom, fulfillment, and peace you desire, you're in the right place. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of It Takes Intention. Welcome if you're watching on YouTube. Welcome if you're listening on Spotify. I'm very excited about today's episode, and honestly, let's just cut straight to the chase. If you apply these 5 steps that I'm going to be telling you in today's episode into your business, into your life, the results you're going to see, they're going to literally blow your mind. Literally blow your mind. And I say that because these are the exact steps that I've applied to every single one of my businesses, consciously or not consciously. And I like to always go back to when I first ran my first business, and probably my second business a little bit as well. When I was in those businesses, I didn't actually understand fully what I was doing. I didn't have the articulation and understanding that I now do in those businesses of what I was doing. I was just honestly researching the absolute shit out of what it is that I was trying to do. And I was reading so many books. I was listening to so many different podcasts. Actually, back then, I don't even think I was listening to many podcasts. I think it was, and I'm talking back like when I started my first ever business, my clothing boutique, I think it was more YouTube that I was watching rather than podcast. Yeah, I think so, but mainly books. It was honestly books, and it was books and YouTube that really, I guess, where I was starting to learn a lot of this knowledge. And then obviously I was trialing everything. I was throwing spaghetti at the freaking wall. I was just seeing what would work. And obviously I found what did work, and that is why now I've been able to rinse and repeat it over the past couple years, and I have got the life that I've got now because of these 5 steps. And so when I say this, I do not take this lightly. These are the 5 steps that genuinely are going to always ensure, bottom line, without a doubt, that you will achieve and create, I should say, your dream life and your dream business. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Okay, step number 1 is I need you to check in with yourself and actually make sure the desired reality that you have for your business, for your life, is actually a deep burning desire in your soul. And it's not just something that you've seen on Instagram, seen, on YouTube, on TikTok that someone else is living. It's something that you actually deep down want for yourself. Because what happens is you have desires, like when you come into this world, right? You are given the desires on your heart. You have this vision for your life, for your, if you're wanting to start a business. And this doesn't even apply to, this doesn't just have to apply to business. This could be if you want to get a corporate job, if you want to be an influencer, like literally apply it to whatever area of life you're wanting to apply it to. Basically, it's not just business. However, obviously I'm going to speak about business because that's what I help people with. Anyways, so basically you have this vision, right, for your life, and that vision should always spark a fire in your heart. It shouldn't even spark a fire in your heart. It should be from that vision, should be from that fire in your heart. Because there is a difference between deep in your soul desiring something, wanting something, and then actually seeing someone else in your 3D reality have it, and then be like, oh, I actually like that, I want that too, even though it's not a deep desire in your soul. And for example, if you are a Pilates girl at heart, let's say you are just like, you absolutely love Pilates, you love yoga, you love classes, everything like that. That just makes your soul so happy. That makes you lit up, right? You're going to find it very easy to go to Pilates classes. Yes, there might be a few days where you feel off and you don't really want to go, but you go anyways. But overall, you're going to want to go, right? However, if you were a Pilates girl and then all of a sudden you see everyone on TikTok posting, gym content and being like, oh my gosh, I love their body, I really want to become a gym girl all of a sudden. Because you're a Pilates girl at heart, that truly makes your soul lit up, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually change those behaviors and become a gym girly if you're not a gym girly deep at heart. Because maybe what will happen is you'll get inspired, right? You'll go on TikTok, you'll see all of these gym girls, and you're like, okay, I want glutes, I'm going to the gym. You're going to go to the gym for a week, and then you're going to fall off, more than likely, because at your soul, like deep in your core, that's not what you truly desire. You prefer slow, soft movements, and now all of a sudden you're trying to become a gym girl, and it's, you know, you're coming up against a lot of resistance with that. It's harder to stay consistent. It's just harder because it's not what you truly desire. Now, I probably should have started with this, but I'm going to use my own example. For me, I am a gym girl at heart. I don't, well, actually, I used to be a dancer when I was younger, so technically we could say I'm like a dance girl at heart, but I love the gym. I love it. I am not a class person. I am not a Pilates person, and I have tried, guys. I've tried to go and be a class person. I've tried to go be a Pilates person, but deep in my soul, I am a gym girly, and I love to do a Pilates class here and there. Don't get me wrong, I love to do a class here and there, but deep in my soul, I know I am a gym girl. And so for me, it's very easy for me to go to the gym. It's not easy for me to go to a Pilates class. I come up against a lot of resistance when I try to go book a Pilates class, or when I try to go book a class. It's because I don't actually deep down want to do it. I mean, obviously I'll get the random hit of inspiration of like, oh, that would be really fun to do. But like overall, to stick to that every single day is very hard for me. But going to the gym is very easy. And so, of course, naturally, if you actually want to become a Pilates girl, you can train yourself and be consistent at it to the point where it becomes easy. It becomes second nature, right? You can absolutely do that. So don't get my words twisted in the way of me saying you can't become someone else. What I'm saying is that when something is deep in your soul, like you want it for yourself because it's part of like your destiny, because it's part of literally who you are, it becomes easy. You're not actually faced with so much resistance. And, you know, if, for example, you're someone who really, truly deep down wants to start a business, like for me, when I first started my business, it wasn't hard. It genuinely was not hard for me to sit there for like 12 hours a day and do nothing but work on my business. Like that was not hard for me. It was so easy, and it brought me so much joy to actually do that. Now, don't get me wrong, there were quote unquote hard things that came up, and back then I did not have the emotional intelligence. I did not have the self-awareness. So when those things would happen, I would be like, oh God, it's all falling apart. Am I even meant to be doing this? Like, I get it, right? But back then, I didn't have the wisdom and the tools that I have now. But overall, I was able to sit there for like hours and hours and hours on end because I loved it, because it was truly in alignment with my soul journey, with what I'm meant to be doing in life. So wrapping it back to what I was saying in the question, I want you to check in with yourself and actually ensure that the desired reality that you have for your business, for your life, is actually your desired reality. If you're seeing that everyone else is online posting a sale for their business, right? Everyone's doing a sale. If you're then seeing that and you're like, oh God, everyone else is doing a sale, I need to make a sale for my business as well. That's not operating out of the desires of your heart. That's actually coming from you seeing everyone else doing that and then wanting to do it, rather than something, you know, being from your true soul core, your core wanting to do that. And I really hope this is making sense, but I just want to remind you to make sure that the life that you actually are picturing, the vision that you have, is actually in alignment with your soul calling, with what you actually truly deep down want. Because when it comes to actually executing the action steps that you need to take in order to bring that into reality, when it's aligned with your soul calling, with your soul desires, it becomes easy. Versus if it's something that you don't actually want to be doing, you're going to come up against a lot of resistance when it comes to actually doing the things. Okay, so now that you've got clear on what you truly deep down desire for you and your life, moving on to step 2, understand that your future self, your higher self, doesn't actually exist. Now, what I mean by this is that she's actually already here. She's like, hey girl, let me come out. And that is because she is that deep desire that you have in your soul, that burning feeling for more and for the life that you desire. That is her literally trying to come out of you, right? And so what happens is we think that, okay, our future self is this version of us in the future, but she's someone almost like different. And she is, of course, someone different to who you are right now. However, she is actually just the habits you currently have compounded. Again, to give an example that's more relevant to what you're probably experiencing right now, if you think that your the future version of you is creating content that is converting, making sales, all the different things, but your content right now isn't converting and making sales, I promise you, it's not going to be until you actually learn in this moment right now how to make your content convert into sales that your future self will be able to do the same thing. It's like the gym, right? If your future self, if you envision your future self being someone who goes to the gym, but you're not currently going to the gym right now, not until you're not going to become that quote unquote future version of you until you actually start going to the gym, right? You have to actually activate her right now. And I want you to think about it like that. You're literally activating, you're putting a key in and you're turning on your future self right now. She is within you and you just have to activate her in every moment, which brings me on to step number 3. And that is we need to actually, firstly, zoom up. We're going to zoom up on your life. And I promise it really is this deep. Your future self is the compounded result of your current habits. So what are your current habits? And I am not meaning going to the gym, eating clean. Yes, those are like basic examples that I'm sure we all know of. And, we're at the point now where we understand it, right? We know that our future self, if she's going to go to the gym, if she's going to the gym, we need to do that now. We understand that, right? But I'm not talking about those habits. I'm talking about your thoughts, your beliefs, and your action type of habits. And what I mean by this is if you're sitting down, right, and you are about to post a piece of content on social media, you're opening up Instagram and you're like, okay, time to post for my business. And then you get the thought, what am I going to post? I don't know what to post. And that triggers an emotional response in your body of frustration of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to post, right? You're thinking that, you're feeling that. And what do? You go, oh, okay, I'm just going to open up Instagram. I'm just going to go see what the latest trends are and copy the classic person that you always copy, right? But what happens? You're sucked, literally down the rabbit hole of comparison of like, oh my gosh, now she's doing this, she's doing that. Why can she post with so much ease? How does she do that like that? How can she edit like that? How does she look like that? Oh my gosh, I need to get a new microphone. I need to get a new camera. I need to get a new friggin' phone. Like whatever it may be. And you spiral. You go down this comparison spiral. You're now doubting yourself, and that doubt is that self-doubt is turning into self-hate until the point where you literally close your phone, you throw it across the bed, and then you put your head in your hands and you go, I can't, I'm doing it tomorrow. That is the habits that I'm talking about. That is the cycles that I'm speaking about when it comes to your future self, right? Those little things that you probably didn't even think are quote unquote habits, that is a habit. You are in a habit. So if you want your dream life, if you want your dream business, like listen, you have to be so self-aware, so conscious, so intentional with every single thing that you're doing. And yes, this can seem like it's really deep and it's a lot, because it is. If you want to be able to control your reality, you have to be able to control your thoughts, beliefs, and actions. So step number 3 is making sure that the habits you currently have are compounding into the future version of you that you actually desire to be. And this brings us on to step number 4, and that is to actually rewire those habits, rewire those thoughts, rewire those beliefs, really bringing out the true authentic version of you who is actually living the life that you desire to be living. We're really trying to bring her out, and to bring her out we have to rewire who we currently are, because the version of you that you are right now has created the reality you currently have. To create a different reality, a different effect, life is a mirror. To create something different, you have to become different. It all starts within you, always, right? You have to become someone different in order to achieve a different result, a different reality. And so to do this, we have to rewire our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions. This is the part where most business owners fail. And that is because you are coming up against someone who is very strong. Very, 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 very strong. If you have had a specific belief, a specific thought, a specific pattern, let's say, for like 25 years, you've been doing this since the day you were born, that is going to be very, very, very quote unquote difficult. And I don't want to say it like difficult because I don't want to implement it into your mind that it is difficult and then that put you off and stop you. But anyways, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. It's going to be challenging, let me just say, to break that off, right? It's going to take time. It's going to take consistency. It's going to take practice. It's going to take accountability. It's going to take having someone to actually help you do this. And that it's going to take a lot of effort, let's just say, to break that off, right? And so I just want to remind you that these things are deeply ingrained into you. This is why subconscious reprogramming is so important. You have to get to the root of what you actually believe, what your thoughts are. If you don't understand what your beliefs and your thoughts are, and this is why, having someone to reflect back to you what they actually are, it's so important, because without knowing this knowledge, you're not able to actually consciously rewire them. When you become consciously aware of a pattern that you're in or something that you're doing, you then have the power to be able to change it, to be able to rewire it. And this is the part where every single piece of doubt, resistance, excuses, every emotion that you don't want to be feeling is going to come up. I promise you in this moment. And like I was saying this morning, that's what happened. I had every single piece of resistance, fear, doubt, everything flood into my mind, and it was that moment that I actually had to decide, I'm not going to listen to you. And like I said, this is the part where the majority of business owners get trapped. They listen to that, and then the second you feed into those doubts, those fears, those excuses, they start to spiral again and again and again. And you have to have the ability to pull yourself out immediately and actually get past that. And it's like the last few reps in the gym. When you are pushing those weights and you are about to fail, and you know that this is the moment where it counts, right? Those last 2 reps are where you're going to grow the most muscle. When you can actually not listen to that thought, not listen to that voice in your mind telling you to give up, telling you to just quit, to drop the weight, to I can't do it. When you actually don't listen to that and you push through, that is where the growth happens. And I like to say that I'm like the personal trainer, but for business, right? If you had a personal trainer in your ear being like, don't quit, do not drop those weights, push again, another one. If you have someone in your ear doing that, you are going to succeed more likely than when you're on your own, right? It's a lot harder to do it on your own, to motivate yourself, to actually push yourself through those last, like that pain, right? But when you have someone right there pushing you, you're going to do it. And that's what I do with my clients. I'm able to actually sit there and be like, you can. The second that they start trying to give into self-doubt, excuses, procrastination, whatever it may be, I'm there to pull them out of it. I'm there to actually shine a light on why you're currently experiencing this first, because you have to understand why you're experiencing it. That's the first step, right? Understand why this is coming up, because then when you can understand why, you can actually take action. And this is what makes me different to a lot of different coaches. A lot of coaches will sit there and just be like, do more, this, that, the other thing, do this, that, the other, I don't know, whatever they say, right? But I understand human psychology. I understand the ego. You have to be able to bring your clients' walls down and their ego down first before you give them their feedback, so that their subconscious mind is relaxed and they can actually take on what it is that you're telling them and understand it, because that is the key. That is the most important part. Understand it, so then they can then take the action they need to in order to achieve what it is that they're trying to achieve. Because if you don't actually understand something, like truly understand it, it's going to be very hard for you to actually take that that action. And for example, this is like if one of my clients has a self-sabotaging behavior and like pattern, let's say, I'm not going to go onto my voice messages and be like, just do more, keep pushing, don't you dare give up, show up, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, I'm going to obviously encourage them and support them, but I'm going to help them understand why that's actually coming up. Understand so then they can see, oh, that is actually the reason why I'm doing that. And then I'm going to give them the tools to be able to actually heal it and change it and rewire it from a deep subconscious point of view, because nothing will change unless we change it at the belief, like the root cause of it, right? You can put as many band-aids over things as possible. You can throw as many strategies, as many, mindset hacks, all the different things on situations as possible. And you know what? It might work. It might work for a little bit of time. But it's like the whole analogy of if you wanted to lose 10 kgs, you could get there pretty quickly if you starved yourself, right? If you actually decided, I'm not going to eat until I've lost 10 kgs, you could probably get there. But then what happens when you actually need to eat again and you haven't actually become the person from a belief point of view who has a healthy relationship with working out, with exercise, with all the things, and has lost 10 kgs as a byproduct of that? If you haven't actually become her, nothing will change and you'll go straight back to where you started. So you have to address it from the root belief cause, and that's obviously what I help you do. So step number 4 is you have to rewire. And then finally, step number 5 is that you actually have to make sure you're taking the correct action. I cannot stress enough how important it is to actually make sure the action you're taking is correct. Because if it's not, and if it is what works for, let's say, someone else, but it's not aligned with your roadmap, with where you're going basically in your business and with your life, it's not going to work for you. The thing that you desire, right? The reality that you desire, the business, the life that you desire, that's going to have one way of getting there. Okay, there is one roadmap to get to that point, right? For you, that's aligned with you. If you're looking on Instagram and you're seeing someone else achieve 10K a month in a business that is not aligned with your business, the way that they got there is going to be different to the way that is going to be different action steps to what you need to take to make sure it's in alignment with the desired reality that you desire. Now, don't get me wrong, there are so many ways to get successful, to make more sales, to have more freedom, to have more fulfillment. There are so many different ways to do that, but at the end of the day, you need to make sure that the action that you are taking, the strategy that you are using, is actually getting you closer to your desired reality. And to kind of give you more of a clear example to this, like I said, if you're desiring a gym girl's body, right, that's the body type that you want to create for yourself to build, but then the action you're taking is going to Pilates classes, you can't expect that built gym look because you're not building muscle in the gym, right? There is specific action that you need to take for specific results. So it's important to understand that you actually break down what it is that you need to do for your desired reality and ensure that the action steps that you take is in alignment with that, and it's not actually just, throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing that, oh, this person's doing it that way, let me do it this way. Let me do it that way. It's getting clear on what makes sense for you, for your business, for your life, for your lane, to achieve the results that you desire. And by doing that as well, you're playing other people's game. I said this in my last video that I made. When you are looking at what everyone else is doing, you are playing their game and you're not playing your game. You have to play your game. I spent years throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying this, that, the other thing, playing everyone else's game before understanding, oh, no, now I actually know. Like, I cracked the code. I know what actually works. I know what is actually needed to get the results that you desire. I truly, hand on heart, believe in my work, believe in the things that I teach inside my coaching, inside my programs. It is truly the roadmap. It really is. And like I said at the start of this video, if you actually apply these 5 principles, these 5, steps to your life, you are going to see results. I swear you will, because and I say that because I've literally done it. Like, I've been spiraling around, trying all these different things. It wasn't until I actually understood these concepts and applied them to my life and got the support in being able to do that and learn what I needed to learn, that is when I really saw the biggest results. So that is everything I have for today's video. If you are an entrepreneur and you're wanting to break free from those limitations that you currently have and actually create more sales, freedom, and fulfillment in your life, I would love to support you. The link is in the description box to join Glow by Tish Coaching. Like I mentioned, I have 4 one-to-one coaching spaces available now. So if you are interested, I will leave the link in the description or the show notes. I also have the links to all my masterclasses, programs, everything in the description. I would absolutely love to support you with your business and with your mindset. Without further ado, I think that is everything. If you're listening on Spotify, I would greatly appreciate it if you could give me a rating on the homepage. It really helps push this out to more people. If you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already. Like I said, links to everything are in the description and show notes. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. I love you. I hope you enjoyed. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you in my next episode. Mwah!